The University of Tokyo from Japan, and I'm studying public policy of that. And then I'm going to introduce my teammates.
Okay, hello everybody. Good morning everybody. My name is Dodi Sontany. I'm also from the University of Tokyo, Japan. Nice to meet you all.
And I'm also from University of Tokyo, Japan. Takashi Kawato. Nice to meet you.
No.
So, we would like to start our presentation. And we found two key problems in the Slovenian forestry industry, which is this country is not making full use of the abundant resources they have. So 71% of the forests in this country are private owned, which are fragmented into small lands, and therefore they are not harvested in an efficient way. And therefore, the amount of harvest, as you see, is way too low than the actual potential harvest level. And another problem is the demand. So this winter, we had the natural disaster which damaged 40% of the entire trees. And then we had the problem because we had to cut down all the damaged trees. However, we couldn't find a place to sell these kind of trees. And then that caused the decrease of the price of the trees that affected the industry a lot. And therefore, we need the risk hedge system in the demand. So currently, the harvested trees are sold 77% in domestic market and 23% in international market. And most of the international market is for EU market. And therefore, we would like to say that we need to diversify this demand. Therefore, this is our proposal. So first, in order to make the most use of the abundant resources, we need to introduce the modern forestry. So as an alternative, we could also think about educating people, so the fragmented owner of each private lands, that they should get together and then be more efficient and introduce machineries. However, there is a strong skepticism among the citizenship in this country, and then therefore this measure will not work at first. And therefore, we would like to start from a public-owned land, and then we would make profit out of it. And then after that, people will see that, and then some people will be eager to join. And that way, we would like to change the system of the supply of the forestry of this country. And on the demand side, we could think about creating a secondary industry within the country. However, the domestic industry is in recovery. So after the 2008 financial crisis, the domestic forestry industry went into deficit. However, all factors are now getting increased, and then therefore there is not strong effect even if we focus on the creating a secondary industry within this country from now on. And therefore, we would like to focus on the global market where we can sell the woods with the higher value added with a Slovenian brand of the lifestyle with forest. And in the long term, we would like to create a domestic secondary industry as well. However, in order to introduce the modern forestry and introduce all the machineries and quality management system, it costs a lot of money. And how can we make that? And also, the Slovenian Forestry Limited is a private company which has to pursue its own profit. So the question is how to make profit at first. So Takashi will continue me and then explain about this one.
So we will start the discussion about the Slovenia Forest Limited's first 5-year plan, and I'd like to focus that because Sho have already summed up what we do. So I'd like to focus on the analysis we have conducted and its implication to the 5-year plan. So you can see that the left below side there's Slovenia, and the right up side there's Austria. And in reading the most governmental documents and also the article academic ones, there is a mention to Austria. And actually it is really important things to catch up the Austrian-style forestry system, but also it is not just thing. So first of all, we have to know that where Slovenia is, and the second, how to catch it up. So, of course, today's fund and the SFS system is working and also making profit, but compared to Austria's counterpart, the profit per hectare is still really low. And this is a problem, maybe the most biggest problem at this point. And we try to analyze what is the factor or the composition of this disparity between Austria and Slovenia. So we did some analysis, but focus on just 3 points. Because the amount or the output is, as Sho said, there's a fragmented private ownership and there's no room to do it now. We'd like to focus on price and also distribution profit and the cost. About the price, Slovenian forest price is not so cheap as compared to other countries. So if you compare the 28 European countries, Slovenia ranks third in all 28 countries. So it, of course, less than Austria, but it doesn't mean that Slovenia is not a competitive country. So, but also there's some room to make some catching up to Austria because Slovenia is really geographically close to Austria. So there's a room to make these timbers so that's the Austrian price. And about the cost, because there's some concession system and there's some inefficient cost structure implemented these 20 years. So, for example, concessionaries have to pay the commission fee depending on the cost, but the cost is not calculated for each land. So, for example, there's a really like alpine, much harder to harvest land, and also there's a forest like plain, but each land is evaluated as same. So the concessionaries get the land of really hard place will underperform and deteriorate their productivity. And also, each concessionary is owed to their infrastructure maintenance and also recovery from the disaster. And this kind of thing made another burden to these concessionaries. And about the distribution rate, the concession system is based on the claimed cost system. So the concessionaries claim the cost, and the rest of the profit or the rest of the revenue will go to the government pocket. So there's no incentive for the concessionaries to report their honest cost. So it will deteriorate in final the government's budget and also the productivity of Slovenian public forestry industry today. So from detecting these 4 problems, we came up with 7 alternatives or 7 solutions we can take. But actually the first 2 answers about the amount or the output, it is really hard to do it now. So we focus on the latter 5 things. And so if you take into consider the feasibilities, it is matter of course that, so for example, for the integration to secondary industry must be after the improvement of the proprietary industry or the forestry industry itself. And also fixed concession fee, which will be make some concessionaries to have incentive to make good effort in their job, is quite works well, but it will not result in the revenue of the government. So we'd like to focus on 3 solutions. So the first one is the promotion. promotion collective forestry, and the second one is quality management, and the third one is enlarge the concession size. So we calculated that with the quality management, we will get the price much higher than today's standard with 20%. And also enlarging the concession size, we expect that we can get the cost decreased to 50%. And after that, we can go to the forward integration stage, and also we will continue the campaign to persuade our private owners to make collective forestry operation. And after all, in long term, we will go to much more productive system. Then, yes, Dodi will introduce you about the financial features of this whole program.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, because we have so less time. We just skip several slides, and I want to just wrap it up. And we already have a problem. We already have a solution. My teammate already talked about it. Now I want to talk about the implementation. Let's say we already create SFL Slovenia Forest Limited. What will we do about it? First, the strategy is it got to be created like a profit-oriented business, so purely profit basis. Second, the operation itself, it's created to replace the current business model, which is in the paper is called the fund. Yeah, it's kind of replacing. However, the fund is not going to be dissolved. It's going to be kind of reformed, and then probably in the future, maybe it will be merged with the SFL. And then the third one, sales and marketing. So as we described in the first page of our slide, we talked about the problem in the demand side. So our solution is we should find market outside the traditional market. I believe Austria market is the biggest market for Slovenian timber production. So my suggestion is find somewhere else. Asia is a big country. Asia is an emerging economy now. I believe it will be great to sell timber or wood products in China or maybe India. The fourth one is human resource. I suggest no hiring. No hiring. It will be more efficient to get some bureaucrats from the Ministry of Forestry and then give them some crash business course. And also we also have some managers from the fund. Yeah. So the managers from the fund, we get the best one, transfer to our SFL. And finally, finance. I suggest 3 or 4 million euro capital from the European Investment Bank. It will be a good starting to start up this company. And lastly, associate costs. As we mentioned in the beginning, there was a big disaster. I think the loss is about 1.6 billion euro. So this new company can actually, first, they can prevent this similar disaster happen in the future. Second, they can help to fix the disaster earlier this year. So that's our suggestion. And the timeline. So this is just my proposal. The first year is to establish the SFL and then purchase the wood surpluses caused by the ice storm, by the natural disaster. The next year, it will be, I believe, next year, 2015 or 16, the concession right for the public-owned forest will be finished. So there will be kind of maybe a new bidding. So I think this company can be put in the forefront to win the bidding and get all the concession right. And lastly is to prepare for IPO, because as I said, this company will be like profit-based. So IPO, make it a public company, will be great. Of course, the Slovenian government will be the majority shareholder in this company. Okay, so this one, I believe I can skip this. Thank you very much. This is our suggestion. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Questions?
You said that one of the first action is to promote collective forestry. What does it mean exactly, if you can elaborate that, and how would you promote it?
Sure. So as we mentioned before, 71% of the forest in Slovenia is owned by the private owner. So the private owner, the problem is there is a fragmentation. There is an inheritance problem. Maybe this farmer have 3 child and they just separate it to the ownership to the 3 child, and in the end, the scale, the power scale will be decreasing and decreasing. So they cannot compete with the other farmers in other country. So to create a collective is they can get together, maybe forester in the same area, they get together, they create an association or collective, as you say, and they can getting some skill to compete with the other foresters in outside of Slovenia. So that's what our suggestion.
Another question?
To suggest us that company will be in the market and the profit will be as it should come. But we all know that the forest has more means as just economic means, social and environmental. What suggests us for ensure that the race for income won't destroy the ecosystem or the forest as a sustainable and ecosystem?
Okay, my teammate will answer that.
Okay, so as you mentioned, forest has a lot of function, such as it prevents mountain to landslide, or it holds a lot of water within the soil, and also it gives people a place to refresh, and it is also a great tool of tourism. However, the current forest in Slovenia is growing too much. That means it has to be maintained. It has to be cut to a certain amount. And therefore, our suggestion is they need to harvest the forest until just the right size, which is the annual sustainable yield. And then now the harvest is way below, and therefore, by achieving this goal, we can create a sustainable nature that is appealing for everyone in Slovenia and also tourists from other countries.
How can the new company prevent disasters? You mentioned that the company should prevent disasters like this year. How can they do it?
So actually disaster cannot be prevented, it just happens, it's natural disaster. What we can prevent is for the timber price to falling down. So this new company can become like a kind of government agent to buy out all the excess supply and to keep the price of timber market stable. So that's our suggestion.
If I understood you correctly, your proposal is to kind of upgrade this Slovenian forestry company and over time even make it public.
Yes.
What other options did you consider? What is the risk, the biggest risk connected to that option, and what other options did you consider?
So the biggest risk is, first of all, as we experienced maybe during the socialist era, the public company, state-owned company become not efficient. They, instead of profit making, they become like draining government money. So my first idea to make it public company is if they are publicly owned, they will be forced to be efficient. So that's our option.
Mm-hmm.
Second option, because if they cannot be public owned, they can also still be owned by the Slovenian government. However, Slovenian government can sell some of the share to the private corporation, preferably the bigger companies, maybe in other countries, private company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the marketing side, you mentioned the huge potential in Asian markets to sell timber, but not only timber, maybe new upgraded brands originating from Slovenia. Have you thought of the perspective in what kind of an customer from Asia? In what way do you see Slovenia? In what way can we become unique, or what is our competitive advantage compared to other European countries exporting there?
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. So what's the comparative advantage of Slovenia? It's EU, it's European Union. So everything made in Slovenia means made in European Union. So the customer, let's say we're talking about China, the customer in China, they are crazy about everything European made. And when I first came here, I got the little booklet, and inside there are some creative industry in Slovenia, making like wooden sunglasses or violin, everything made from wood. It's fantastic. It has a huge potential. Sell it to China, and because China, the population is getting richer and richer, they want expensive luxury European products. So that's our suggestion. And yeah.
Okay, can I add? So we were talking about the sustainability in Slovenia, which is very unique in Slovenia. So in Austria, they are really doing well in the forestry industry. However, they are pursuing the profit, and then I read the article that the Austrian people came to Slovenia to see the sustainability or how they manage the forest sustainable, and then this kind of concept, live with the nature, hits with the awareness of health in Asian market. So right in China, now we have a lot of air pollution problems or the food pollution problems, which makes people aware of the health problem. And then even in Japan, now we're having a lot of allergy problems, and then we also have air pollution from neighboring countries. And then now the market of the health-related food or these kind of health-related industry is really skyrocketing. And therefore, this not only the brand image of EU, but this unique feature of Slovenia that they really care about the coexistence with the nature will be a great value for them. Yes, and then so in this term, the competitor might be, for example, a country like Finland, but their woods are relatively cheap. So like they also have the image that so they are a beautiful nature country with a lot of forests and lakes. However, like by promoting this coexistence in different ways, we can make people pay a bit more rather than like paying it cheap because it's so cheap, simple. So like Finland model is like they make everything simple, and that's why the cost is a bit cheap. However, by adding some secondary industry, we can persuade Asian people or Asian market to pay additional money for this product.
Other questions? Yeah.
One more if you have time. So basically, in your recommendation, you say that first you optimize the state-owned part, which, as you point out in this slide, is 30%, and then the rest of the fragmented, which is bulk of the volume, will hopefully follow, right? Both in terms of productivity and in scale. So my question is that instead of taking such an incremental approach, what are potential more radical alternatives that you could do to address the 70%?
Can I answer this question? Yes, so for most Slovenian landowners which own just 3 acres, such kind of small portion landowners have their asset just for a kind of bank. So they think that they have this asset, so they have some kind of guarantee for the kind of risk they will face in their life. So for example, because they have the land, they can get some loan from the bank or such kind of. So I think that offering the data Slovenian government gather to the bank and make bank the evaluated the precise value of the forest. So for example, they have 3 acres, but they don't go to forest so frequently and they don't trade it, so the land value deteriorated. But today's point, they think that land is land, so the value will not change, never. So if the mindset is changed, so if don't do anything, the land will be deteriorated, people have to change their behavior because it is their asset.
Last question. If everything would be implemented as you propose, what would be the impact on the revenue and how much investment would be needed? Because you mentioned investment in mechanization.
So I would say, so if this all works, we would say see a 1.2% higher value, the profit ratio, and the consumption will go double, which makes the profit 2.4 times higher than the current level. And as for the investment,
Okay, for the investment, as I said before, we need at least 3 to 5 million. But actually, I think, personally, I believe it's not enough. Because we are talking about rehabilitating.
How much is enough?
How much is enough? I think 10 million euro.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
10 million. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Arigato.